Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. And I can tell you from my interview with Matt House last year, he's pretty quick. He is going to give you the answer, and that's going to be the answer. So I appreciate that, but you just got to be prepared for it. So he met with the media on Saturday, and he took a lot of questions, and he was pretty quick with his answers as well. There's not going to be a lot of opining from LSU's defensive coordinator entering his second year, but he did speak to his comfort level as opposed to a year ago.
I think comfort's kind of a relative term. You know, I don't think anybody ever wants to be comfortable, but what you do see is you understand the expectations, right? We're not all trying to learn Coach Kelly's program, and really we now know exactly what our traits are and what they look like, exactly what our process is and what it looks like. Now, there's an expectation for those that return that we take that to the next level.
And I think that's kind of a cliche way of saying, like, this is good. We've got our feet on the ground here. Like, we know what we're doing. We've been here before. Nobody's learning anything wildly new. Last year, we're trying to get everything installed and understand what Coach Kelly wants to do, and the players are trying to figure out what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to get with Coach. Like, that's something that LSU's been dealing with for 4 years. No more. They've got their coordinators, and they're pushing off the dock in year two, feeling good about where they are. But I think, as I mentioned in the last segment, the position group that's going to get the most discussion and draw the most questions is that secondary. And I think that's totally fair based on lack of returning production, all these guys' backgrounds, and kind of what we've seen early in camp where the offense is humming a little bit. And House talked about the competition specifically out at cornerback.
Yeah, I think guys are still competing for roles at this point. You know, you see good things out of them. What we're looking for is consistency. Day in and day out, exhibiting our traits and really being the guy that you can count on every snap. You know, we've had guys that have flashed. You know, Deuce strung a couple practices together earlier this week. Ashton Stamps is growing up fast. Zai has done some good things. We just got to continue to grow.
And that kind of reiterates what you've probably heard from us on this station, or if you subscribe to a site or a newspaper that's given practice reports. Like, most of the time the offense is winning, but every once in a while there are some flashes where the defense bows its neck, and those are kind of the guys you're looking at to do it. It's Zai Alexander on the outside. It's Deuce Chestnut on the outside. Talked about Ashton Stamps. That's somebody we started to talk about last week, is a freshman who's ascended more quickly than we probably thought that he would based on his recruitment coming out of Rummel. But it's the names, you know, but it's whether or not they can step up and be the guys. And that's what LSU's waiting for. So right now, when you go out to practice, you do see a lot of guys moving around. I mean, it's not just Greg Brooks being out. It's, you know, playing three safety looks that include Andre Sam. It's looking at where Javian Toviano or Sage Ryan mix in. Do they play back at safety, or do they bump up at nickel? And that's a question that Matt House took, is like, how much moving around are the safeties and nickelbacks doing?
During camp, we're trying to move those guys around, and we're trying to do that to create depth and competition. You sort of broaden your horizons as a football player when you see things from different views, right? And that makes you multiple on defense. So with those guys that have played a lot of football, the Majors, the Dre Sams, the Greg Brooks, even Sage Ryan, yeah, we're moving them around and we're challenging them to learn.
I talk to Brandon Taylor about this all the time when he does his work with us on the network. And when he was there, they learned every position. Brandon came in as a corner, ended up moving back to safety. But you had, you know, Ron Brooks, who was trained at a bunch of different spots for that team. Who knows where Tyron was going to be standing at that point. So they were always trained to play every single spot. We saw Tyron back up and play safety one time for that 2011 team. And that's the team that Brandon always references when he's talking about cross-training at all the different spots. So for this situation, that's what they're trying to do. And I think part of that is so you know what your role is at every single position. So if somebody goes down and you have to move during the course of a game, like, you know where you're supposed to be. But it also is the coaching staff trying to figure out who's best at what, because you just don't have a lot of returning guys into their exact spot. I think Major Burns would qualify there. He's the safety. He's going to come back and play a lot of safety. But like, Brooks moved around a little bit. He played some nickel. He played some safety last year. Sage has moved around. He's played mostly nickel and dime. But you got to move some guys around, and they're certainly doing a good bit of that. Now, the one guy we haven't talked about in this discussion is Zai Alexander, who's kind of establishing himself as the number one corner at this point. That's not decided yet, but we're moving in that direction. And Matt House talked about what stands out about Zai Alexander.
I think his length and how smart he is. He is a smart player, and, that's a trait we value. You can tell he's a high school quarterback, and his length. His length helps him on the edge.
Size-wise, Alexander's got the goods. Because of their background and situation, it's natural to compare Colby Richardson and Zai Alexander. You're from an FCS program in the state, coming in to finish your career. That's a similar arc. But you could go out to practice and look at Colby Richardson and go, he's a little light. Like, that guy, can he hold up in the SEC? I don't know. When you go out to practice and look at Zai Alexander, you know he can fit in the SEC. He's tall, he's long, he's not rail skinny. He's thin, he's a corner, but he's not rail thin like I mentioned Rashard Robinson when he came in, or Thurald Simon when he came in. Like, he's an older player. He's filled out. So the size and the length, absolutely. I can't speak to his intelligence. Never talked to the guy, never seen him play in live action. But the size, for sure, with Alexander, absolutely will play in the SEC. On the other side, Deuce Chestnut's a guy that we assume is going to man that other battle station. What's he look like?
I think Deuce is a headsy player. What I have seen is he's got a unique skill set for baiting guys. That's the thing. You can tell Deuce has played football.
And that makes sense because he did have a lot of picks his first year at Stanford. And some guys just kind of have that knack for being able to sag off a little bit, bait you into throw, and break on the football. But as I mentioned in the last segment about Deuce Chestnut, when you go out there, he's not 6'1". He's sub 6 feet. And he's not like the super athlete. You wouldn't send him out there to run with Patrick Peterson or Morris Claiborne. Like, he's not going to be a kick returner on this team. But he's got the instincts, and he's played a lot of football. His numbers at Syracuse are impressive. And I know there are plenty of you out there that'll go, I don't care what you do in the ACC. This is the SEC. And I go, okay, but the ACC has real teams, real football players. There's not that much massive difference between Mississippi State or Arkansas and the upper tier ACC teams. Like, that's a pretty similar brand of football. And Deuce Chestnut fit right in the ACC doing that. So again, he doesn't have the physical traits in LSU secondary that Jamal Adams had. He's not Derek Stingley. Like, he doesn't have that kind of athleticism. But he's got ball skills, he's got some savvy, and that's what they're going to try to get by on. And I think that's interesting and should be interesting to watch. And the last piece is kind of the one proven commodity that LSU has back in the secondary, and that is Major Burns.
Major's improved, and he's a guy that his length and his speed give the options to do different things. And he's also a guy now where it's time to take his development to the next level, where it's beyond just what's my job, but it's seeing the bigger picture and understanding what offenses are trying to do, understanding how situational football plays a role, and then how you can take advantage of it.
Let me tell you this about Major Burns that I didn't know, and he's been here for over a year now, and I did not know this. He's a troublemaker out there. He is yapping. We're out there at practice, and you remember the fight from 2 weeks ago that made headline news. He started it. And then I was out there last Thursday in the morning, and he got under the skin of a walk-on who was probably 5'9", 5'10", linebacker. I never heard of him. But Major got in his kitchen, and the kid had his helmet off, wailing, swinging, throwing punches, like just absolutely furious. And then we're out there on Saturday, and they're in some 7-on-7, some 11-on-11, and Major never stops talking. And that's fine. I'm fine with it. But it is clear as day that he is out there to try to incite some people. And he's got a smile on his face, and he's laughing like he eats that stuff up. And I can't tell you whether or not that's great on the field or not. I'm just telling you what it is. He's out there, and he's yapping, and I thought it was hilarious. I think there are some guys that can take it a little more than others. Some other guys that get a little chippy. But you know that most secondaries need that guy. Most secondaries need a guy who's going to jaw, who's going to talk. Brandon Taylor was like that. My guy, BT, on the pre- and post-game show. He lets you know about it. And Major Burns is that guy. And he's certainly the leader of that secondary, being kind of the old guy at this point, because there's so many faces that overturn, it seems, annually over there in the secondary over the last 3 years. So that's kind of a look at what Matt House had to say about his secondary on Saturday morning when he met with the media. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.